Hi there guys, it's Chris Avanis here with another Info Agent video. Today we're going to be discussing the different methods of sale in real estate. Whether you're buying or selling property, it's important to understand the different methods of sale and how they work. Let's start with the most common method of sale in residential real estate, private treaty. Private treaty is a method of sale where the vendor sets a price for the property and potential buyers negotiate with the vendor or their agent to purchase the property. This method is popular because it allows the vendor to set a price they're comfortable with. This gives potential buyers the opportunity to negotiate and secure a deal. Private treaty sales can take anywhere from a few days to a few months depending on the level of interest in the property. When a potential buyer makes an offer, the vendor can choose to accept, reject, or counteroffer. If the vendor accepts an offer, the property is sold and the sale process moves forward. One thing to keep in mind is that with private treaty sales, the vendor can change the asking price at any time. So if you're interested in a property, it's important to act quickly and make an offer you're comfortable with. The biggest benefit of private treaty sales is that there's less pressure. Offers can be considered at the vendor's leisure, and there isn't any fast-paced nature of an auction to contend with. With greater flexibility for negotiation, sellers can determine the pace of the sale process. Buyers may also feel more comfortable knowing there's a cooling off period if available. For this reason, many purchasers prefer the private treaty sales process. The drawback of private treaty is that it's hard to implement for properties that are unique and/or difficult to value. It's mainly used when there are lots of comparable sales, making the value easy to determine through the comparative market analysis. You can check out our video on how to sell a house to learn more about how the appraisal process and the CMA works. When a property sells by private treaty, it's followed by the 5 business day cooling off period we mentioned, unless a 66W is involved. If a buyer were to pull out during the cooling off period, they would only forfeit their 0.25% holding deposit. So what is a 66W certificate? This is a certificate that's included in the contract. If both parties agree to sign this, the cooling off period is waived. This means the property will be sold unconditionally off the bat and enter straight into the settlement period instead, just like it would at an auction. The other most common method of sale in real estate is auction. An auction is a public sale where the property is sold to the highest bidder. Auctions are popular because they create a sense of urgency and competition among potential buyers. This can lead to a higher sale price for the vendor. However, auctions can also be risky for buyers because they need to be prepared to bid quickly and potentially pay more than they were initially expecting to. Auctions are a necessary evil though, because they are used for properties that are unique, don't have any comparable sales, and are thus extremely hard to value. Where private treaty serves to sell properties at their estimated value, at auction, it's the opposite. The result determines the value. How does that work, you might ask? Well, we might sound a bit like a broken record if you've watched our other videos, but this is because the value of a property is determined by what a buyer will pay for it, and at auction, that's what we get. If you're interested in buying a property at auction, it's important to do your research beforehand. Make sure you understand the auction process and set a budget you're comfortable with. It's also a good idea to attend a few auctions before you start bidding so you can get a sense of how they work. A question we see quite often is, what does passed in at auction mean? Well, before the auctioneer and the vendor will set a reserve price. What is an auction reserve price? This is the minimum price the vendor will accept for the property. If the highest bid does not meet the reserve price, the property will be passed in. In essence, this simply means the property didn't sell at auction. The property cannot be sold below the reserve price without the approval of the vendor. If a property is passed in at auction, it automatically rolls into a private treaty sale. Vendors will be happy to know there is no extra cost for this. A common question we see from buyers is, how do I find out the reserve price? The short answer is, unfortunately, you don't. That would very much defeat the purpose of an auction in any case. Even eBay auctions don't work like that. The benefits of auction is that they eliminate long negotiation periods and ultimately reduces days on market. Immediate exchange of contracts takes place. It's competitive, though the pressure is on the buyers to make a good pre-auction offer. Intensive promotional campaigns attract the maximum number of buyers in a shorter time. Shorter selling periods mean auctions can be more convenient with less disruption to the family. Off-market is another method that is used sometimes as either a pre-sale strategy when on a tight budget, or if the vendor wishes to sell their property discreetly. So what does off-market mean? Off-market refers to a property that is listed for sale but not actively advertised to the general public. Off-market sales are usually conducted through a network of agents and potential buyers. This means they rely solely upon the agent's existing database of buyers. Off-market sales can be a good option for buyers who are looking for a unique or hard-to-find property. However, because these sales are not publicly advertised, it can be difficult to find off-market properties. You may need to work with a real estate agent who has access to these types of sales. On the selling side, we usually don't recommend this to vendors as the main strategy. The chances of selling in a timely manner are far lower, as are the odds of getting a reasonable price. People love to make fun of agents for using the cliche, "you can't sell a secret." Well, to put this into perspective with a case study, we personally have had an off-market sale that took over 2 years to sell. It most likely would have been sold within months had it been taken to market, and for more. It sold in a very different market to what it started in. If you're a potential vendor who's considering off-market as your main strategy due to costs, advertising fees can often run you less than a few grand depending on the area. Plus, with the emergence of pay later options in sales, it's now easier than ever to get listed for no money down. Yes, we can do this. If you want to know more about the cost of selling a house, check out our other video on how much does it cost to sell a house in the Sydney property market. EOI is another method of sale that you've probably heard of, but what does EOI mean? EOI stands for Expression of Interest. So what is EOI? This is where potential buyers are invited to submit a written offer on a property by a specified deadline. This method is commonly used when the property is unique or special and it's hard to determine its market value, similar to why an auction is used. The vendor usually sets a deadline for the submission of offers, and after the deadline they will review the offers and decide which one to accept. EOI is a less common method of sale in residential real estate, but it can be effective in the right circumstances. The benefit of EOI is that there's no publicly listed price. Serious buyers can make offers higher than expected, and agreements can be reached before the EOI closes. If no acceptable offers are received, the property could go back onto the market as a private treaty sale. Buyers can make a conditional offer subject to a building approval certificate, settlement dates, or financing. Lastly, we have the tender method of sale. This is where potential buyers submit a written offer to purchase the property by a set date. This is similar to EOI, but with a few key differences. The seller will then consider all the offers and choose the one they deem most favorable. The offers are presented in sealed envelopes which are kept secret from other buyers. Sellers are also not allowed to accept any offer before the pre-specified deadline has been reached. This makes the tender process like a closed silent auction. The process is confidential, so buyers don't know what other offers have been submitted. This can lead to buyers submitting higher offers in hopes of securing the property. Similar to EOI, the benefit for sellers is that there's no listed selling price. Buyers can't compare your home to others on the market. The sale price is usually kept secret, so complaints about an overpriced home are less likely, though we never recommend trying to sell too far above market price. This is because buyers are savvier than ever, inspect many properties, and have a good idea on value. They can't really be tricked. If you're having thoughts of selling and are researching the best method, the right time to sell, or just need to get an idea on your potential selling price, our estimated value reports include all of this info. You can order your report instantly from one of the links in the description or in the main menu of our website. We are agents who own and operate a full-blown real estate agency in Sydney, and we can help guide you through from start to finish. In the meantime, you've got our other videos. These were the 5 most common methods of sale in real estate. Each has its advantages and disadvantages. It's up to the seller to decide which one they feel is best for their property, and the agent should be able to provide good advice around this. As a buyer, it's important to understand how each method works and the risks and benefits associated with them. Transacting property, particularly in the Sydney property market, can be an exciting time. There's an energy in the air, and this is what agents like us live for. We love it. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video if you found it helpful or know someone who will. You can also sign up to our newsletter on the homepage of our website to never miss another video. Thank you for watching, and happy bidding.